Have you ever wanted to study abroad in Israel? Take a course on technology in the startup nation, conduct research in a state-of-the-art lab, or maybe brush up on your Hebrew language skills, or learn about reporting armed conflict in the Middle East. Well, the Rothberg International School at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem offers all these interesting courses and more for students studying abroad in Jerusalem. This unique study abroad program provides students the opportunity to study with top educators, experience what Israel has to offer through exciting field trips around the country, and especially let students experience Jerusalem, a city that fuses history, archaeology, and religion with modernity and vibrant nightlife. So, here to tell us all about it are Linda Gradstein, the Israel correspondent for Voice of America and former correspondent for National Public Radio, who teaches a course on reporting armed conflict in the Middle East, and Hebrew University students on an Nativ College leadership program, Jacob Kline and Reena Bromberg Gaber. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Linda, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about this course that you teach? It sounds like an incredible opportunity for anyone who's interested in a career in journalism.
Well, it's fun. I mean, journalism is not rocket science. It's a craft, and it's a craft that you can learn. So the way that I teach it is very much based on doing journalism rather than learning about journalism. So the students from the very first day learn how to do interviews, learn how to do research for a journalistic story. They each do a fairly long feature story that's about 1,500 words or so, sometimes with a multimedia component. So from the very beginning, they are basically working as journalists. And the Middle East, of course, has plenty of conflict. And they learn how to reach out, how do you do an interview if you want to interview somebody who's not in Israel? So they do interviews by Zoom, by Skype. Some of them have a journalism background, some of them come without having done journalism ever. And it's interesting, sometimes the interviews are a little challenging for them because you have to kind of go out of your comfort zone. So for example, this year I told them to interview a protester from the Prime Minister's office. And they said, well, we're not supposed to go to protests. I said, okay, then go a couple of blocks away and find a protester. And some of them came back really jazzed up. And that's really fun for me, is when you see students who are a little bit shy or who, and it's a way for them as well to kind of connect with Israeli society because they interview people, they go out and they do things that they wouldn't normally do. So it's getting them out of their comfort zone. And then what do you do with those interviews? How do you construct a story? Some of the students will get their work published, which is really exciting. So it's just it's really fun. I love journalism. I've been a journalist for many years, and I really find that teaching the students gives me energy for my own reporting work and having them get excited about journalism.
Great. And how does the city of Jerusalem, how is it relevant for this course?
Well, the city of Jerusalem is our backdrop. I mean, Jerusalem is a wonderful place, and it's a place also of conflict. So the idea, one of the things that's very important to me is that on any story that the students do, that they get both sides. Right, and that or sometimes 3 sides or 4 sides. And, in Jerusalem, we have a population of Jews, Christians, Muslims. We have, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if that's what you want to focus on. The ultra-Orthodox secular conflict, if that's what you want to focus on. Jerusalem is an amazing city, and it's also a city of many conflicts. So we really use Jerusalem as a laboratory for how do you cover conflict, how do you develop sources. Often on a given conflict, it's very easy to get sources on one side and much more challenging to get sources on another side. How do you do that? What if you can't get anyone to talk to you? What if you can't get ultra-Orthodox to talk to you? How do you deal with those situations? So it's a very much hands-on, and every couple of weeks I have the students report in which interviews have you done, who did you speak to, what do you do if someone doesn't get back to you, how do you nudge them along, all of those things.
Great. So Jacob and Reena, turning to you, why did you decide to take this specific course, and why did you decide to study in Jerusalem?
Well, the course spoke out to me initially because my friends had attended the first session and raved about what the class sounded like and the fact that they would get to speak to real, Israelis in different conflicts, get a grasp on what's actually happening in the area we're in. It felt like a great way for me to learn more about the place I'm in. I wanted to come to Israel because I wanted to experience life in a new place. I've grown up in the same place for 18 years. I want to get a different perspective. And this class seemed like the best way for me to get a grasp of what's going on, figure out my curiosity in active ways, and above all, I really like talking to people. So I got to speak to a lot of new people.
That's great. And Reena?
I've been obsessed with journalism probably since 3rd grade. And since everyone has started, in the last couple of years of high school, since everyone started asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up, the answer really became journalism probably in 10th grade. And the opportunity to take basically my first real class about journalism and about how to be a journalist. And since I had the opportunity to take it, it was really, really exciting to have that.
And what made you guys want to come study in Jerusalem specifically?
I've been to Israel a few times on family trips and a few very touristy shorter trips. And I love Israel, and I love Jerusalem. I think when I'm in Jerusalem, I'm probably the best version of myself. I'm the happiest and the most at home and calm and comfortable. And to study and live and work here was something that I couldn't pass up.
And especially the people. I think Jerusalem is a great example of the whole country, the whole area. We are currently staying a block from the old city, where you have so many different religions, races, people, communities coming together. And so to be in Jerusalem, learning about these things, I have access to so many different communities that I can get to know. And so being here, I felt I could take advantage of being in Israel the easiest, especially being in the center of the country, but more so, I feel like there are pockets of all of the aspects of Israel within Jerusalem as a whole. So if I wanted to, instead of driving 4 hours up north, I'm sure there's a community that really resembles that right in Jerusalem. And I think it's a broader spectrum here.
And let's focus on the class. What did you like most about the course with Linda?
Well, I love that we got to actually go out and do things. You know, it wasn't just confined to the class. It wasn't just learning in class and then studying once we leave class. It was learning in class on how to do specific exercises and then going out and doing them. You know, how do you formulate questions for an interview? How do you network and find those people? And then you leave class and you go out and do those things. You have to ask your classmates, ask your family, do you know people in these communities that I can speak to? And then, you know, your email skills get really good, and coordinating and planning and actually going out and stepping out of your comfort zone to conduct those interviews. Writing hasn't always been a strength of mine, and I'm still working on it, but this class really pushes me in a new way than my high school classes, because it's not a literary analysis of something, it's an analysis of a culture, of a person, of a situation, and that is something I have never written before.
And Reena?
I think, like Jacob said, getting out of the classroom and learning by doing rather than learning by sitting and staring or sitting and listening, I think that's the best way to learn something. And because I want to be a journalist, I have really tried, especially in the last few years, to talk to as many people as I can who are in the field, and to talk to as many people as I can who know, can give me more information about what I can do in the future. And so learning from Linda and learning about, you know, all of the things that she's done in her life and hearing all of her stories. And she also has brought in some of her connections, people who are in the field, people who are related to the field, and learning from those people also has been such an incredible opportunity that I think will really help me in the future.
Now, Linda, back to you. I mean, these are challenging times, right? We have the coronavirus. It's changed all our lives. How has it been to teach this class, I understand, via Zoom in part?
Yes, almost in total. In fact, this semester has really been challenging and unique, and I very much like Jacob, I like interacting with people, and I like doing a lot of class discussion, and I was a bit nervous with Zoom. How do you really get a discussion going? How do you keep the students engaged? So first of all, I have a lot of energy, and so I really tried to kind of keep the class moving. Secondly, I tried to say, how can I use Zoom positively? So in this case, for example, I always try to bring my friends into the class to speak. And here, I could say, for example, two of the recent guests we had, one is a Palestinian from Gaza named Rami Aman, who's a peace activist and just got out of jail. He was in a Hamas jail for 6 months, and we were, in fact, the first group that he met with after, or that he spoke to. And the students can't go to Gaza, and so it brought them a perspective. And then just yesterday, we had a woman who is a teacher who lives on the Gaza border in a kibbutz, talking about what is it like to live on the Gaza border. Now, I could have perhaps gotten her to come, but it would have been a big imposition on her time, and instead it was half an hour. So I tried to use Zoom to give the students a broad range of perspectives.
But I understand, and from hearing from Jacob and Reena, you also did have the opportunity to go out into the field.
We did. We had an opportunity to go out into the field. We did what's called a dual narrative tour. There's an organization called Mejdi Tours that organizes tours of dual narratives. So we had an Israeli tour guide and a Palestinian tour guide. And we would go to a place in the old city of Jerusalem, and we would hear about it from the Israeli perspective, and we would hear about it from the Palestinian perspective. And we even had an opportunity to go onto the Temple Mount. So I think it was the first time we had all met. So, for example, one of my students is really tall, and I had no idea. And I said, "You're so tall." And I think that also really helps solidify us as a class. And to spend some time sort of really thinking about dual narratives. And when you're doing it as a group together, when you're walking through the alleyways of the old city, and you would hear from the Israeli tour guide what the old city and what the Kotel means to her, and you would hear from the Palestinian tour guide what the Temple Mount means to her. I think it kind of brought a lot of what I was trying to say into focus.
Great. So, Reena and Jacob, back to you. We heard a little bit about your experiences of life in Jerusalem within the framework of the course, but I'm curious to hear about life in Jerusalem outside the classroom, the nightlife, the food. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It has been incredible. We've been in Jerusalem for, I think, like 4 months at this point, and it's been amazing. There was one day where I didn't really have a lot of homework in the afternoon, and a few friends and I walked, I think we probably walked 4 miles. We went from where we live to all the way to the Knesset and to this beautiful rose garden, and we experienced like the first rain that any of us had ever had in Israel, because we've only gone really on like summer programs and stuff. And I've spent so much time in the old city and seen all of the ancient sites that our ancestors have been in, and the food is incredible.
Food's so good.
I have my favorite falafel place, and I have the place that I like to go when I need a smoothie or I need ice cream. And
you need these things.
Yes, we
absolutely
need ice cream. And I have really been able to know my way around Jerusalem. I know how to get to all of the different places that I want to, which is really awesome, because like my mom will talk about this site that she saw when she was a junior abroad in college, and I'll be able to know exactly what she's talking about, exactly what that experience is like, which is really amazing.
Like Reena said, exploring is just about the best thing in Jerusalem, right behind food. The food is so good here. But for example, my friends and I, one afternoon, we finished class and we were like, let's go explore the bus route. We had been taking the bus to and from like the same few places, and we wanted to get a better handle of it and see a few new places around Jerusalem. So our friend had a spike ball net, which is a game we play in the park. We put it together and we walked to the bus stop. I think it was 5 or 6 of us. We get on the bus, and our goal was whenever we would see a park or a patch of grass or a place to play, we would jump off the bus and play a game there. So we rode a few stops, we jump off, and we play a few games, and someone is keeping watch and shouts, "The next bus is coming." And we run, we grab all our stuff, we get back on the bus, and we ride a few more stops until we see another patch of grass. And we went to so many new parks, places around Jerusalem we didn't even know existed. We found this great new restaurant to try. It was honestly so much fun, one of the greatest memories I have here. And it was with my friends exploring a new place, and we realized how much there is that we just haven't even seen yet.
Great. Well, Linda, Jacob, Reena, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you.
So this is just one of dozens of incredible courses and programs that you can experience in numerous fields, from arts and humanities to the hard sciences, at the Rothberg International School at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.